This is new. This is like, I got this at the start of the year. And I went 2 years of recording videos, maybe longer, with just a webcam.
I mean, they're pretty good, right?
They're good. Webcams are good, but yeah, you can always get better quality. It's just like, when do you need it? When's it necessary in your business in terms of like how much it costs and how much reward it's going to provide, like.
That's it. Do people really care? I think slowly, add these things in. Don't go style over substance too fast.
Yeah.
A bit disheartening when you're filming a podcast on a $10,000 setup and no one's listening.
Yeah, that's right. Or when you just like on your side, everything's real good and you got somebody that's in a dark room, just with the iPhone things in and you can barely hear them. It's one side's epic. The other side's like, oh, well, you've just spent all this money and it's, still can't produce the best podcast.
Unlistenable podcast. But that's cool, man. But I'm really, really happy to have you. And we're streaming live in a few different places right now.
Cool.
So everyone is just sitting on the edge of their seat, waiting to see what Jaryd Krause has got to say. So a little introduction. Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am jumping out of my seat with excitement right now because I'm here with a very old friend of mine, Mr. Jaryd Krause, who I've not seen in a very long time. So quick bit of context. Jaryd is an online business mentor, is his macro, but this guy, he's a surfer. He's a traveler. I believe he's still a vegan. He travels the world. He's not anymore. He's not anymore.
No,
he's not anymore. He was. We have hung out all over the world together, and his main business, buying online businesses. Jaryd helps people to really live more of a work smarter, not harder, passive income lifestyle by buying websites online. Jaryd, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. When you said, hey, let's do a podcast, I was like, hell yeah. Like, we get to catch up and chat business, which is what we love to do, right? Like, it's awesome. It's gonna be great.
100%. And we make some content out of it. Everyone wins. And it's a really, it's just a beautiful way to catch up with people, and to kind of make a reason to do it. None of us really make enough effort to hang out with people these days. It's very difficult. You're in Queensland. I'm in New South Wales. We wouldn't do it even if we're allowed to. We're busy. We've got different lifestyles. This is awesome. And congrats on your podcast, man. Buying online businesses. It's doing really well.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm very thrilled with how it's just come together over the last few years. I'm grateful, to be honest. I'm just grateful that there's that many people tuning in. Yeah.
Well, I think, you're going to have a significant downtick in listenership on this episode because my podcast is nowhere near yours just yet, but it's about persistence, man.
Yeah. You got to start somewhere, man. Like, I started with like my first episode with like no listeners. So like, it's just a thing.
Well, it's like anything in life, right?
Yeah.
But anything in life, you got to just stick with it, keep on going. And even when no one's listening, or you're in the gym and getting no results, or you're trying to surf and you just keep falling over, you got to fucking get back up again and keep going, man. So I want to start off with a little bit of a story. So
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah. Well, it's one of my favorite stories. And it's such a cool story because it's so far out of my comfort zone where I rarely go. So the last time I saw you was probably about 3 years ago when me and Greg Tyler met you and went out for falafels in Burleigh Heads at the Pocket.
Yeah. We went skating. That was awesome.
We did. We went skateboarding. I think you did some crazy like handstands or something like that.
Yeah.
You're a good handstander. I saw you fall on your head off a boat in Hawaii trying to do a handstand. That was gnarly to watch. But the main story I want to get to is we were on a business trip in Hawaii together, in Kona in Hawaii, and there were manta rays galore, right? So these huge, like 2 meter across manta rays, and the hotel was like, come to the manta ray tour. You can watch these manta rays at night, get the boats out there, shine the lights on them. But it was like, I don't know, get $300, like American. It was ridiculous. And Jaryd goes, you can rent a snorkel for like $15 at the gift shop. Let's rent snorkels. I am a dive master. I'll take you out. And we were like, at night, without
No.
without the men, without the people. And you were like, yeah, follow me. So a gang of us, maybe like 7 or 8 of us, went and rented snorkels and fins. And it came to dusk and we all crept down the back of the hotel, jumped into this like bubbling, terrifying pit of watery death off some rock, following Jaryd's lead. And you led us around a headland, swimming out in the black of the night, confident as anything, out to essentially steal this manta ray tour.
Yeah.
And there were people there who were decent swimmers, people there who were not strong swimmers, people like me, relatively fit, but terrified of the ocean, especially at night. And you just led us around with a cool head of confidence, and you were diving down and having the best time ever. So here's my question, because firstly, I want to thank you for that, because honestly, that broke me through to another level of confidence in the ocean, because I did not grow up with the ocean and I don't get it. You do, which is good. Yeah. But here's my question, man. What, in your mind, are the qualities that allow you to lead a bunch of misfits on a nighttime snorkeling mission that also help you to run a successful online business?
Oh, it's a big question. To be honest, like, and there's so many layers to this, like, if we just relate it to that experience that we had, like, I had led people on guided dives not just on top of the water, under the water, at night and stuff like that. People like, 4 people max per guide as a dive master. But this was a different kettle of fish. To me, it felt like there was more than just 8 people. I don't know how many there was, but when we went down there, there was so much water, like smashing up the rocks. And I had to put a lot of focus and energy in just energetically holding the space for people that were not strong swimmers. Like, you were fit, right? And you could swim like better than like a lot of the people. But just having to hold that space was important. And to answer your question, there's so many layers of like, how do you do that in business and how do you do that in life? And I guess for me, it's kind of just, if you want to do something, you got to do it, even if it's uncomfortable. And yeah, shit can go wrong. And I had a disclaimer. I remember I did a bit of a brief as well before the whole thing. And I was talking to everybody. It's like, look, if you're not confident, you can't go, that's fine. Like, I put out a disclaimer there that was important, right? Like, I do this, but you don't have to come. If you're not a strong swimmer, stay back, don't go, all that sort of stuff. Because things can go wrong. And when they do go wrong, like, there was some things that went wrong on that thing where people weren't strong swimmers. And I was like, all right, I'll have to swim you back, and, I had to lead the pack from behind to make sure nobody was dropping off or nobody was there. So I went out with like balls to the walls confidence. But I was pretty damn nervous, to be honest. And I guess we do that in business, is like, we want to do something really bad, but we don't know what's going to happen. And we've just got to let what happens and learn from it and do the best that we can as we go through that experience, I guess, because you can't predict who knew what was going to happen in 2020, 2021, like, and what has happened to businesses. And you've just got to go with it. You've just got to accept it and do the best that you can. Because business, man, is so hard. Like, being a business owner is just ridiculous. Like, since we've known each other, the amount of people that we have become friends with that started businesses that are not in business, it'd be like 95% of those people that are not in business anymore, because it is so damn hard. Like, and I guess it's just understanding that also we want to achieve this thing, but realizing it's not going to happen in a blink of an eye. Like, it has to take a lot of time. And most people just aren't cut out for like going, all right, I'm just going to do this for however long it takes until it works. Because that's hard.
How long is it taking for you?
So I decided, it started way before we met. I decided I want to change my lifestyle from being a plumber to making money online at the end of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So end of 2012, in 2013 is when I first started researching and created my own first website on how to start making money online. So what's that been? That's been 8 years.
Yeah. And you've been living off it for a few years now,
Yeah.
and that's the goal, right?
Yeah. It is the goal. Like probably I haven't picked up a tool for work in like 6 years, I guess. So through that 2-year period, much like yourself, just went all out trying to do everything that I could. And I ran around in circles, if I'm going to be honest, not knowing what to do.
It does happen. And quick acknowledgement of that fantastic answer you just gave. Business is very, very hard. It's really lovely to know that as someone who was very nervous and scared and kind of shitting themselves, you came holding the space of a leader. Very, very tough to do that. But we have to do it in business. I have a team now. You have a team. It's tough, but we got to lead from the front or lead from the back, as you said. So I think, on your website, it says 90% of businesses, 90% of startups fail, be part of the 10%, right? Do you believe that like people quit because they don't have the goal of living off it? They have the goal of buying a Lamborghini?
Yep. Short answer is yes.
Yeah.
People want things yesterday, and they want things for the wrong reason. Like a Lamborghini can be a huge motivation for somebody, but also it's not that life-changing to go from driving a Toyota, whatever Toyota you want, to a Lamborghini. It's not really that life-changing. So if your motivation is just to drive a Lamborghini, you're not going to work as hard for it, in my opinion, as you would if your goal was to go from working an 80-hour job that sucks the life out of you to being able to work from home with your children. It's a very different energy and motivation that you have towards achieving something. And a lot of people do want, the people that usually, and this is very general and probably a statement that I shouldn't say because I may offend some people, but a lot of people that just want a Lamborghini don't want to do the work to get it. But people that want to have a better lifestyle for their family and to work less don't necessarily need to make a whole lot of money, but they just need to get to a point where their lifestyle is better, where they have more time. And they're prepared to work for 10 years to get there, right? I did 4 years as a plumber and my pay went up a little bit, but my lifestyle changed. My lifestyle got worse, right? So I went through all this time and my life didn't get any better. So 4 years, I believe if somebody was to stick at one thing for 4 years, they'd achieve amazing things. But we see these things. This is my conundrum and I had a question 2 days ago on all the members in my mastermind. From one of them, he's like, how do I stop myself from being distracted? Because that's his thing, is like he's got this one business. He went from going negative to 20 grand, like doing 20 grand a month in revenue within like our first 4 months working together. And so with that, it was just me going, dude, let's take your good energy and put it into the right direction, right? Let's funnel that into the right direction. Otherwise, all this good energy is going to get it's going to get spent on things that won't get you a result. Because we see, crypto is crushing it. I'm going to go make money in crypto and I'll start a business as well. And then I'll drive Uber and I'll do all these things just so I don't have to work anymore. And you're doing 7,000 things that get you no result. If you try to catch too many rabbits, you end up catching none type thing. So that's a long-winded answer of do people that want a Lamborghini, they find it hard? Of course they're going to fail. The wrong motivation.
Yeah, well, sure. I think that's a really interesting answer. And I think there's nothing wrong with wanting a Lamborghini. They're awesome. I love a Lamborghini, but 100% the way that business and kind of entrepreneurship is represented online these days makes you think it's going to happen overnight. You're going to be freaking Ty Lopez or Jake Paul or whatever in no time at all. Just get a camera and yell into a camera on YouTube and you'll be fine. Whereas what you said just then about working less, hanging out with your kids, it's really interesting because like this is honestly the first year in like 7 years where my online business, my digital marketing company, my like 19th iteration of online business is paying me well. And I'm surprised. Thank you.
That's a great point to get to because I know how hard it is to get there. Yeah,
it is, man. But you know, honestly, I'm surprised at how little I actually need to pay myself to feel really cool about this. I probably pay myself like the same amount as I would working, 50 hours as a chef. I'm not paying myself like a freaking stockbroker or like some kind of baller, but I'm doing it in about, less than half the time. I'm doing it from home. I can rock outside and say what's up to my kids. And it is freaking amazing. That's my goal now. When they're off at school, maybe I'll put the pedal down a bit and, see what I can do. But right now, what you just said is super, super relevant. And congrats to you for changing your lifestyle, after such a big hustle. and I'll take a congrats as well for that because it is, it's a tough one. Unfortunately, and understandably so many people we know don't make it. But that shiny object syndrome you were just talking about is really funny. When it's like, how do I stop myself getting distracted? Because usually you have the entrepreneurial mindset, you see opportunities and you want to go for them, right? And you've got a funny little balance going on where clearly how to make money relatively passively online by buying online businesses and kind of, I think last time I saw you had like a hanging chair store and like a suit store and like something else. Yeah. And, you could probably just as easily hang out, go surfing, eat falafels, go traveling, check your computer a couple times a day and live off that.
Yeah.
Yet you've taken yourself into the very volatile, difficult and emotionally stressful world of coaching other people to do the same. Why have you done that?
They're so good. You're right. I had, and I've still got multiple businesses, but when I bought my third business, I quit my job and I went and traveled for 1.5 years and surfed around Central and South America. I came back and that's when we met and I went into coaching. And the reason I wanted to coach is because I got a lot of fulfillment out of helping people out. Like I was making money. I was like, cool, if I make money and it's working well, why don't I help these people? Like a lot of people on my trip were like, dude, you need to teach me how to do this thing, right? They're like, what do you mean you don't work? You haven't worked for 1.5 years. So I created a course and then I started doing one-on-one coaching. From that, built a sales team, marketing team, and got way too many clients. I got too many clients and I got sick. I got glandular fever, which turned into Epstein-Barr virus. Yeah, it was real bad. So that was at the end of 2018. I didn't even know it was that bad until I went to a natural health doctor like 1.5 years later or 1 year later. And she's like, did you realize that you have Epstein-Barr virus? I'm like, what even is this? She's like, you need to like work a lot less. So I got rid of my sales team, marketing team, and stopped the process of doing the one-on-one coaching because I outworked myself. Right? I worked too many hours. I worked too much, had too many clients. And so I went to one-to-many model, which was way better for my lifestyle, right? I went backwards in terms of finances, but over the longer period of time, now I make far more money with far less work. And I went through a period of not coaching anyone, like one-on-one coaching for like 2 years or so. A lot of people hit me up like, oh, can we do a coaching session or pay for it? And I just had to say no to heal myself. And the answer to your question, why do I do it, is because I get so much fulfillment out of it. Now I can coach no more than 20 people, right? Because I don't want to work more than 20 hours a week. I coach no more than 20 people in a month. All right, so that's 5 hours a week, plus the rest of whatever I need to do. And that's I went that 2 years without that fulfillment in my life, right? People would go through my process. They'd buy a business and get a result and I'd be super stoked for them. But because I didn't have that many touch points in that process of them getting results, I felt like I wasn't really contributing for myself personally. This was my own thing. But now that I get to coach people, like we get those results, like just a similar one of like I mentioned before, the guy was going backwards to 20K. It's just like a small example of a client. And that's really rewarding for me. And to have that energy exchange between myself and somebody that's really happy with that result, it keeps me in business. Otherwise, if I didn't have that coaching, I'd probably just let this business decay and then run around like a headless chook trying to work something else out that did give me fulfillment.
That's great. That's awesome. What a perfect answer. And it's it's one of the hardest and easiest jobs in the world, because you're just dealing with other people. Other people's problems become your problems when you coach and when you care as a coach.
Yeah,
which is tough, and it makes you a better coach, but it makes your job a lot more stressful when you truly care if someone's not getting results. That's the stuff that keeps me up at night more than if my business is doing well or not.
It's a tricky phase as well when you start. Like I remember the first clients that I got when I was coaching is I was in the survival phase of like, I need to make money, so I'll take on any client. Right. And we all have to go through that crap, right? We all have to go, yeah, I'll just, I'll help you. I'll take your money. You probably won't get the results because you won't do the work. I'll try and force it and make it happen. But it just doesn't pan out like that, right? Like it's heavy. It's so heavy because you both really want this thing and you're both fighting against each other. But you can only learn that in hindsight, I believe. But then when you start to get to the point of like stuff that we learned in push-pull energy with sales and all that sort of stuff, it's a totally different energy of like, look, I don't know if this is going to be a right fit for us, right? And when you can't fake that energetically to the whole world, right? And when you do have that solid groundedness, people can be like attracted to it. And that's what can get you more clients, more one-on-one coaching clients. But you need to get past that and out of that survival phase, which is so damn tough. This is why 90% don't get through it. It's like, it's really hard. And it's like probably the worst punishment you can, one of the worst punishments you can put yourself through. It's so hard. It's so tough. Yeah.
Very tough, man. It's very tough. But I think some people are attracted to it. I listen to a lot of military guys and it's like, why do you do this? Why would you do that job? That sounds like a really hard job compared to us. It's not that, we've got nothing. We're in t-shirts in the freaking living room, but they're addicted. People are addicted to challenge and a certain kind of personality. You thrive off that kind of thing.
It's true, right?
Although our mentor, Ryan, who taught us both to do this, love Ryan to bits. He had a bit of a burn the boats sort of mentality, in the style of, I'm going to back myself into a wall so I have no option but to succeed. And then he would sit down and call all day, every day, and just made $1 million in a year, the kind of thing, because he just thrived off insane amounts of pressure. I have done my best work in business when I've had a job supporting me. Mm-hmm. How about yourself? When you were plumbing, did you approach business in a different way to, when you were out on your own?
Totally. I'm not an advocate for that. I think that's toxic.
Me too.
And I'm not an advocate for backing yourself into a corner. A lot of people, I'll give you an example. A lot of people will come to me and say, Jaryd, I want to buy a business. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to buy a business. I'm like, cool. I'm not helping you. They say, why? I say, and they're like, well, I've got money. I'm like, cool. I don't care how much money you've got. The reality is that if you quit your job, what happens is you're not making money, which this weird thing happens to us where we kind of go, oh shit, I'm not making money. I need to make money. And we start to make decisions based on fear. And when you make decisions based off fear and when you're stressed, think about when you're really stressed and you're trying to get something done and you're trying to do it really good and you're trying to be creative, it's not going to turn out well at all. So when you make those decisions, you just make your life harder and you make worse decisions, which makes your life worse. And we can see how that has played out in many other people's lives, myself included. So when I was plumbing, I didn't quit my job. I had 2 businesses whilst I was still plumbing. And I made sure that those 2 businesses had more than replaced my income before I left. So I didn't leave and go, oh, I'm like, I need to like freak out and do all this work and run around like a headless chook and not get the results. I think it is a different mentality to have. Is like, some people want to burn the boats. Some people want to take the risks and go, I need to go all in. The reality is that you can go all in whilst having a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about it? Like,
well, I burnt the boats. I did it a couple of times. I've done it maybe 2 or 3 times in my 7 years where I've gone, fuck it.
how did that work for you though?
Never worked.
Why?
It's not my energy. I like being relatively relaxed. I don't mind working more hours to have a good mindset.
You work hard. You're a hard worker, right? Entrepreneurs are hard workers. That's not the thing. Hard work doesn't get results though.
No, it doesn't. But the hard work of, for example, when my wife was pregnant, and we found out we were having twins, I was like, okay, I think with one baby, I could handle because I was working in restaurants, I could handle, running this restaurant, well-paying job, having a bit of stuff on the side, and that's fine. When I found out there were 2 of them, I was like, okay, I need to kind of figure something else out. So for that whole 9-month period, when Ali was pregnant, I worked on digital marketing whilst managing a restaurant full time. So I was doing like 50 hours in a restaurant, $1,200 a week coming into the bank every week, and then slowly went out. And then I was doing $1,200 a week in digital marketing, so that was pretty awesome. First time ever. And then I overtook it. I was doing like $6-7 grand a month in digital marketing when I was still working at this restaurant. So when the babies came along, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a month, tell my clients, give me like 30 days and I'll be back. And they did. I've done 3 or 4 shifts in the restaurant since then to help out. But my best work in business is always done when I have a cushion of comfort, which makes me a healthier person, makes me a happier person, makes me a better partner or husband or dad or brother or son or whatever. When I'm not stressed and I'm not making decisions like a headless chook out of fear, out of desperation, out of throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. You can make decisions much more logically and patiently and sensibly when there's a cushion there. And that was a very big lesson to learn. It took me a few years to learn that.
It's good that you learned it. Some people never learn it, right? Like my job is to help people make money.
Yeah.
Which that's what people think I actually want for them. I don't want them to just make more money. Like that should not be the goal, in my opinion. I don't think we should optimize our life to make more money. I think we should optimize our life to have the least amount of stress. And when the money comes into it, the money comes into that as a part of less stress, because the money that you have does allow you to be less stressed. So yeah, you need to make money, you need to get out of the survival phase. But if you're going to damage yourself to do so, you're just running around in circles.
Yeah. Yeah. And then very rarely does something good come out of something toxic or broken or stressful. You have the stories. I think because we have the stories of the rappers and the movie stars and the sports people who came from absolutely nothing and just had to work. The Rock, his whole $7 thing, that he was like, I had $7 in my pocket and now he's the highest paid man in the world, but he's got that energy, not everyone has that energy. So let's talk about lowering your stress. and having that, lifestyle where you're not just making more money, you're making money more easily with less work. Is there such a thing as 100% passive income? Does it exist?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it can exist, but if it is existing, it's decaying slowly over time. That time frame will change. Like, think about it. If you own property as a property investor, that can be one of the most passive investments you have, because the manager can own the property, but you've still got to pay taxes. You still need to, if you run it in a trust or a company, you still need to report that to the ASICs. There's, a few hours of work, maybe 3 days of work a whole year that you'd need. That's a very passive income. But it's not full passive. It's semi-passive. And there's different levels of semi-passive.
Yeah. And so moving off that, like, what do you think are the mistakes that people make when they chase passive income as a goal?
Cool. I think the mistake is that they're chasing passive income and they think that's the goal, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
Because you can have a business that is making, it takes you, most people that buy businesses with me, the businesses take them 2 to 5 hours a week to run. You can buy a business, an e-commerce business that takes 2 to 5 hours a week to run, or you can buy a content website or a content business like a blog that takes 2 to 5 hours a week to run. They can be both as passive, but an e-commerce business generally is far more stress, because you may have a customer support service person. You may have to manage inventory. You may have to deal with your digital marketing person. And that can be far more stress, same amount of work, but far more stress than running a simple blog site. So it's an equation that everybody needs to work out for themselves, I think.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think, it's what we were talking about before as well. Like, it's just this freaking Instagram perception of entrepreneurship these days. Yeah. And it's, it's, here's my screenshot of the 100 grand I made last week off of my Shopify, off of my crypto, of my investments or whatever. Mm-hmm. What they're not showing you is the huge amount of capital they had to put in to get to that point. To make enough money off of interest, you got to have hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s in there. E-commerce websites, they're not showing you the marketing spend. They're not showing you all that stuff. They're just showing you the results without the process. So passive is very, very tough. But I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I think from my side, the mistake people make with passive income is that they just they think you can just start making passive income like quickly. They just think it comes quickly. I think with all businesses, they assume that it's going to happen fast. And the people who built these e-com websites that your clients are buying, they put a lot of hard yards into getting to that point. Because even in, I'm a pretty good digital marketer, selling a $17 product online is not very easy. It's probably easier to sell a $5,000 product online than a $17 product. And so, we're all learning these things, but I'd love to get into some tangible advice with you now, because you're a guy who could talk for a very long time about the real important stuff in business, the mindset, the stress, the lack thereof, the attitude you need, because you've been through the ringer. But, a lot of people also would love to hear your tangible advice. And one thing that's really interesting about you, Mr. Jaryd, is that this, if my sources are correct, is like your 18th podcast you've been on in, a couple years, that sort of thing. And that's really, really cool. A lot of coaches want to get themselves out there on more podcasts and get their business out there in this, skyrocketing platform. Do you have any tips for coaches who want to get themselves out there more? And did you make a conscious effort to do that, or did it just happen organically?
Yeah. Like last year I was on 1 to 2 podcasts a week.
Yeah.
And that didn't just happen from me just sitting back on that couch back there. Like I created a system where we would reach out to people in a particular niche or a particular space that would want me to be a guest. They would see some value in me talking on their platform.
Yeah.
And the advice I would say to are these business owners or coaches? Like what sort of niche are they in, or what?
The audience right now is probably like my mum and like her mates. Like no one's really listening to the podcast right now. But the intended audience of the podcast, actually, we had a good uptick recently. The intended audience of the podcast, coaches, consultants, service-based business owners.
Yeah.
They're an expert in a field.
Yeah. If you're an expert in a field, the best way to get yourself out there is to build a brand. Don't think about just trying to make it happen without some sort of backing. Because, if you think about The Rock, you talk about The Rock. If The Rock came to you and said, "Hey, Alex, I think I'd be a good guest on your podcast. What do you reckon?" You're going to say yes, aren't you? Yeah, most likely, if he's going to talk about digital marketing. If he's going to talk about movie stuff, probably not. But my point being is that he's got a brand. Yeah. He's got a background. He's got a name. So build a brand for yourself. And the only way to do that is to first get people results and get people such good results that it gets eyeballs on your content, gets eyeballs on your stuff. It gets people talking about your business. So I often ask people, how did you find out before they join my membership? How did you find me? A lot of people, it's like podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff like that. But every now and then it'll be, this person referred me, or this person referred me who's already a member. And when you talk about getting people results like I did here, I seeded something, right? I'm always seeding things. It's a part of just being an entrepreneur and a salesperson is I seeded about my mastermind member. I seeded about his results.
Yep.
When you talk about that and it's somebody's like, "Oh, wow. Like I listened to this podcast about this person who did this with this person," they start to get talking and, or just that episode gets shared or whatnot. And that helps build your brand. So first lead with results. And the way you lead with results is like go all in on like not heaps of clients. Don't get too many clients. You'll burn out. Go all in on the ones that are getting results and get them better results. It's going to make your life easier, and just repurpose that content and talk about it everywhere. That'll help you build your brand.
Yeah. Get out there. I think it's very tough to get out there these days with the amount of people posting to actually get head and shoulders above the rest is difficult.
There is a marketing strategy that I can walk people through for building a brand with content if you want. As
in you can do it now for free on the podcast?
Yeah.
Or you want to, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Okay. So what's your marketing strategy, Jaryd?
So it changes as Facebook changes, YouTube changes. But basically, if you've got a good podcast, like it's a case study or a testimonial or something like that, a good piece of content, put money behind it. Put money behind it to the right audience. And then those people that have watched that or consumed that piece of content, maybe 25, 50, 100% of it on Facebook or Google, YouTube, then you can remarket to them to like, subscribe your page, get your free opt-in or whatever it is. But when you start pushing your best pieces of content to people with paid marketing to the right people at the right time in their journey, then they can build your brand a lot quicker. It is hard. It's almost not it's not free anymore. It's pretty much a pay to play game now in the digital world.
It is 100%. It is absolutely. And I mean, that's my whole job, is
yeah, exactly.
pay to play. although people do need to, before they get to the pay to play point, they need a bit of a brand behind them before they put any serious money behind it. Because if people are clicking from an ad that you've paid lots of money to get out there, coming back to a page where you can't offer them anything, then that's a waste of money as well. So you kind of got to build both at the same time and, put effort into every area. It's a long journey, Jaryd.
But it's a long journey, man. It's like, I would almost lead with content and building your brand first.
Yeah.
And then once you built an audience, the hardest way to start a business is to find product market fit, right? This is why most people fail in starting a business. They don't know how to find product market fit. They give up. How you can do it is you can create a blog, you can create content, you can create a website, you can do whatever you want. You put that out there, you build an audience that are interested in that niche, and then say, hey, what's your problems? What do you want? And you don't need to make something up. You don't need to make up a product. You don't need to make up a service. People are telling you exactly what they want and they'll pay for. Then go out, create that. Boom, there's your business.
There's the soundbite for the episode, ladies and gentlemen. That's the one. That's what we needed. That's awesome, man. And it's very, very true. And it kind of leads me into my last question for you, which I ask a lot of people who have built a business online, is if you had $5,000 and wanted to start a business online, where would you spend it?
First, I wouldn't spend the money. I do a lot of research. First, I'd go through my first principles. And my first principles is, what's my goal? If you're going to start a business, my principles and philosophy is that only start a business if you're going to work in it for 10 years or more and you're passionate about it. If your goal is to only make money online, then it's pointless starting a business, because your likelihood of failing is going to be very, very high, because you're just chasing the money. So you'll probably be running around wanting to get the Lambo, all these different things. Lambos are good, of course, but you are in a different mindset. So if your only goal is to make money online, then I'd suggest going away and buying something that already has product market fit. And that's where I would spend my money. If it was something that I believed in and I loved and I was passionate about, then I'd probably go through that process that we talked about before of creating content around that niche, and then asking, probably put the money out behind that content until I build up an audience, an email list that I own, and then ask them for feedback. Hey, what are your problems? What do you need from me? And then I'd create the product and then I'd sell it. And that would be my business.
Amazing. How good. I get so many different answers from that question. You're the first person to say, firstly, I wouldn't spend it, because, and that goes with your whole energy that we've been through this whole podcast. You don't need to put yourself up against the ropes to succeed in business. You can take it a little slower, have fun, which you're a real advocate for fun, Jaryd. I love that about you.
Thanks, man. I fun. Like, why else do we live?
Well, man, I wish that everyone could answer that question. Everyone's got different shit, and our environment gives us a lot of pressure to, go out and either just do the bare minimum to get by, or do what we think is expected of us, or try and exceed that to make someone else happy.
This is the most toxic thing in your life.
Jaryd's holding up his phone, by the way.
Sorry, guys. It's the most toxic thing in most people's lives. I spend 15 minutes max probably on Instagram a week. And I have on my screen, I have 4 apps on my phone. I prescribe people to change their environment and prescribe people to turn the internet off. There's this one guy I just started working with. He's about the same age as us, and he has so much good energy. He's a funny dude. He's lived in Australia before, and he wants to buy a business, looking at spending in between 50 to 80K. And he's emailing me with all these different, oh, what about this thing? What about that? Or do you think I should do this on the side? And would you be able to advise me on that? And the next time we had a call, I said, you have 3 hours of work. Once you've done your 3 hours of work of the things that I've told you to do, turn off the internet and leave your house. And don't turn on your phone, because what happens is when we try to fill up this space, like if you're somebody that's got a lot of energy that wants to make money online or wants to crush it in business, but wants to also invest and do all these other things, cryptos, NFTs, property, whatever it is, what happens is after you've spent your like 1 day of work or your 20 hours or 30 hours of work, then you have all this other spare time, right? If you don't have kids, then what you're going to do is you're going to try all these different things, and that tires you out and you run around chasing the shiny object syndrome. And then when you come to work, based off what we're talking about before, Alex, is you're coming to work tired and less energy, maybe a bit more stress. And the time that you put in when it's ready to work, it's not going to be as good, that work. So turn off that stuff and then get rested. And then when you do come back, you do better work and you can do less work because it is better. And that's how you actually work less and earn more, is if you just do better work.
This is a guy whose company is called Buying Online Businesses, ladies and gentlemen, who has just told you to turn off the internet as much as possible.
Yep.
And that's why you got a big smile on your face and you look about 10 years younger than me. And you always will. You always will. The surfing
about that. I might age pretty bad with this much time in the sun.
Stop complaining, Jaryd. Take the compliment, bro. You're Thanks, a beautiful man, and you have a wonderful life and a wonderful energy. And, I think that a lot of people can learn a lot from what you've given us today. Do you use Instagram enough for me to say, should we follow you on Instagram? Where's the best place to absorb your content?
Probably like they post on Instagram. But like if you want to just test out some of my stuff, like podcast, Buying Online Business podcast, or YouTube, Buying Online Businesses on YouTube, or just type my name in wherever you want. And yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it more. I'm going to spend more of my free time watching Jaryd. Because it's the place to be. It's the place to be. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been a real pleasure catching up. And we'll do it another time in a less professional capacity.
Yes, I look forward to that. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Dude, my pleasure. And for everyone who's out there listening or watching, thank you so much. I'm taking a week off next week on Jaryd's advice, so I can't wait. But this will be up, and then you know how it all works. So I'll see you when I see you. I'll be back with another episode of Coaches to the Moon very soon. I always like to give my guests one more thank you. Jaryd, thank you again. And I will see you all, hear you all, listen to you all, speak to you all next week. Thank you so much. Much love and peace.